year. Now, today we're concentrating on a very famous rabbi. His name is Rafael Chaim Benyamin Peretz. Now, we're not exactly sure on the date of the Hilula, but some people will commemorate it. I believe Rosh Chodesh Sivan, because I think this happened to have been the day where he completed writing, I think one of his first volumes of his book, the Zechrono L'chaim. But he was a very famous rabbi of his time. I believe he was born back in English year 1810 to Rabbi Peretz, who was a very great rabbi of his time. He'd go on to become a great rabbi in Saloniki and in Kushta, respectively, one of the great rabbis of his time and author of Torah works. So let's explore a few of the highlights of the famous rabbi's life. Now, I believe he was born around the year 1810. We're talking about around 215 years ago, here from the time of recording. His father was Rabbi Peretz, who was a great judge, let's just say, in Kushta in Turkey. At that point in time, it was part of, let's just say, when the head rabbis in Adrian and Paul, and also the Sefer Avnei Shoham, respectively. That was his father, a very, very famous rabbi, and he would learn under his auspices while he was at a very young age. He would learn in yeshiva in Kushta. Through the yeshiva at the time, I think Rosh Yeshiva was Rabbi Moshe Frisco, I believe, who was, let's just say, a judge inside that city. And he was like a very, very famous rabbi over there. Okay, so later on, I believe he'll be appointed a rabbi in, I hope I pronounced correctly, Drandnalis. I think this was, and then come what the year, Heita Reish Chav Zayin. I think this was approximately the, I'm not sure, the English year, maybe mid 1860s, if I'm not mistaken. He would move to become a rabbi in Giliopoli. Very interesting enough, and over there, very prominent position. There was I think, a strong community in Gallipoli, and there he would actually print his first book called Zכרנו לחיים. I think this is the first, let's just say, volume of it, and included a correspondence from Rabbi Avram Pelagi. Remember, the Pelagi rabbinic dynasty in Turkey was very famous, and Rabbi Avram Pelagi, I believe, was the son of the famous Rabbi Chaim Pelagi. He was himself, respectively, a rabbi in the city of Izmir. Now, much more can be said, but in regards to the rabbi, I think there was a correspondence with another rabbi, Rabbi Shlomo Khalilian, I believe, who there was very much the book called Amar Shlomo. It was Shut Shelot Shuvot, question and answers book. I think that was printed in the year Heitaf Reish Chavdai Dalit. So I think he had a correspondence with in regards to that. Other rabbis would speak about Rabbi Benyamin Peretz, Rabbi Rafael Chaim Benyamin Peretz in a very, very high way, including Rabbi Chaim Cheskia Medini, who was a very famous rabbi of his time, the author of the Torah class book called the Sedei Chemed. And Rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before would actually mention him, and I think I'll quote what was written on him: "Vehen atan nitfas sefer zikronot lachayim le'echad miyuchad merabanei dorenu." Really, really speaking about him, how unique he was as a great rabbi at the point in time of his generation. And I think there will be various other correspondents. Also, I think Rabbi Chaim Pelagi, there will be a mention also. Echad me'ir enei chachamim, nivcha atzmim, ha'ir agdolim shel chachamim kushta, Rabbatai pilpela charifa shta'ata yafeh. And then who hadda, very much quoting then Rafael Chaim Peretz, the great rabbi. So there was a great correspondence. Remember, Turkey at that stage in time, let's just say, was a bastion of Torah learning center in the world, especially in the early 1800s and mid 1800s respectively. So he really had a very, very high standing and high stature, let's just say, in of itself. And it's actually interesting. I think Rabbi Yosef Al-Fandari would also, I think, mention him. He was, I think, a Dayan, one of the Dayans, the judges in Kush, and the author of the question and answers, Sheilot Shivot book, the Peretz Yosef over there, would actually write Sinai V'Oker Harim. Really, really high compliment within regards to the great rabbi. And just shows the greatness, I think, actually quoted in... it's Simon Aleph over there inside that book. I'm not sure the exact page, respectively. Now let's explore his book. His book was a famous colossal called Zechrono L'chaim. This was divided up into three halakim, three portions. I think two of the halakim, the first two ones, were printed in Saloniki in the year Taf Reish Chav Zayin, and also in Izmir in the Hebrew year Taf Reish Lamed Bet. I think that actually came out while he was alive, and this was Paskei Dinim on the four sections of the Torah, respectively. And then the third one would actually come out, I think, from manuscript form, if I'm not mistaken, through Machon Yerushalayim if I'm not mistaken. That's a significant later date in of itself. But he was a great rabbi of his time. We're not sure on the date of his Hilula. I think he would, at one stage in his life, I think in the 1840s, just to backtrack, he would actually republish his father's book called Avnei Shom. I think maybe he would make a couple of additions, or it will be in a slightly different formation. That was actually printed in Saloniki, respectively. He worked in, the area was Mijdal, I believe, in Kushta, near Kushta, and I think he would actually have various different rabbis from Turkey he would be corresponding with in of his time, especially he was quite famous all across the world. Let's explore a few of the highlights of his books, a few of the teachings over there. I think in the Zechron Chaim, in the first volume, in page number 12, he teaches Melamed la'atzid amira l'goy me'erev Shabbat shiadlik b'likui yerech. So he's talking all about amirat l'goy, speaking to another, let's say a non-Jew, with regards to matters pertaining the Shabbat, respectively. Maybe where leniencies can come in if one needs to be docher Shabbat, obviously through a non-Jew. Another teaching, one last teaching we'll see with regards to him from the book the Zechron Chaim in the second volume. I think in Amud 8th page of the Melamed Lesadeh Levanav the Zechron v'Inyan Mako Adin Me'echan Torah Yotzeh. Another nice teaching of there, but he was a famous rabbi of his time, and I recommend everyone to light candles in his memory. We believe, according to one source, using the Hayomi website, it would be on the 1st of Sivan. His book was, remember, it was his book, I think the first volume was completed. I think, to be precise, the second volume was finished actually in the year 1872. That would have been about 8 years before he passed away. That was in Saloniki. I think that consisted of 337 pages, using teachings from the Talmud, various different sugyot from the Talmud, dividing out like important, let's just say, teachings, and so on and so forth. I recommend everyone to look into that. Now, friends, we're a community here. We're learning about the great rabbis of yesteryear. If you descend from any of the great rabbis we're speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more. Now, please subscribe to the channel now. We're nearly on 7,000 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. We want to get to maybe the Festival of Shavuot, close to that specific figure. So if you could click the subscribe button, I would really, really appreciate it. If you descend, if you feel anyone's interested in watching any of these videos, please share these videos to other people. Also, we've covered already about 120 biography videos, small snippets with regards to a great rabbi from Turkey, and possibly nearly about 950 biography videos of great rabbanim of yesteryear. So wishing you well, recording this from the city of Bet Shemesh, wishing blessings from Israel, and thank you very much.